Welcome to College Hoops Under the Radar by OSG Sports. Here's your host, the online sports guys.
And we're diving in the deep end on College Hoops Under the Radar. And one of those programs that's under the radar, and I'm kind of baffled by it because of their great basketball tradition, although they had a couple of lean years heading into this year, is Louisville. The Cardinals, and it's so good to see them back relevant in college basketball and will be in the NCAA Tournament. Jody Demling, the publisher for CardinalAuthority.com and part of the broadcast crew for the UofL Network on Learfield, joins me. And Jody, I mean, Pat Kelsey comes in his first year and has reversed the fortunes for Louisville basketball. Now, from your observation, what has been his secret sauce to have this impressive turnaround?
To get rid of everybody. It's kind
of he practically did.
One secretary and one walk-on. The radio team, we're all still the same. Everybody else is totally different. And honestly, I think that's what when Kenny Payne came to Louisville, he kept a lot of the holdovers from the Chris Mack era that ended in the Mike Begees era. When Chris Mack left in January, he kept a lot of those holdovers. He kept a lot of different staff members behind the scenes, and Pat Kelsey came in and basically brought his Charleston group with him here to Louisville. And I think that has been a fantastic match for what he wanted to do, how they've done it. They all knew how to do it. They went out and got, a whole roster of players. And, Pat's just got something about him and the way he does it, the charisma that he's got. The focus, the intensity, it's really, really good. We were fortunate and we were spoiled around here with Rick Pitino for a long time. And knowing how he did things. And look, Pat Kelsey is, and he would not want me to compare him to Rick Pitino because he's not, but from a preparation and a practice and a detail standpoint, he's as close as you can get, and it's kind of wild, really. And I think that has been the secret sauce. They're prepared for every game. They're ready for every game. We haven't seen them, knock on wood, they've got 3 more in regular season left and then ACC tournament, NCAA tournament, but we have not seen them come out and have a dud. Even the Georgia Tech game that they lost, they shouldn't have lost it, but it wasn't because it was a dud. It was some things that they did in the game and some shots that Georgia Tech hit. So to me, that's been the biggest thing, is the preparation, the details, and we do laugh about it, but it was, kind of ridding this program, getting rid of everything that was in this program that had that bad taste in its mouth for the last couple of years.
And he's not joking either. They practically got rid of everybody that were on that roster in the office. I mean, that's impressive. But, going into this year, the scheduling was kind of squirrely because you got Duke in the beginning of December, and right. Although that was a loss, I mean, basketball is such a marathon, especially in the college level. So getting a big game like that with a brand new team that early in the season can't be all that helpful. Obviously, you play Kentucky, and that was a loss. But ever since then, man, you guys, Louisville has been on a run since that calendar turned 2025. 14-1. If you go back to December, 16-1. I mean, that is impressive. Yet it just doesn't seem like you're getting the attention that most programs that especially legacy programs that make this kind of turnaround get. What do you think of the cause of that? Because I know the ACC is kind of having a down year conference-wise.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is the ACC. I'm a little surprised. I guess it's a couple fold. If you look back at the Bahamas trip, Louisville had that trip on the books before Pat Kelsey took the job. You didn't know who you were going to play, but you knew you were going to get a couple of good games there in the Bahamas. Well, they blew out Indiana. Indiana's not, people don't think Indiana's as good as they thought they were at the beginning of the season. They beat West Virginia. West Virginia is not as good as they thought they were when Louisville beat them. They beat Oklahoma, or they lost to Oklahoma in overtime. Oklahoma's not as good as people thought they were. Although they're in the in the SEC, those two, that team and in Big East or the Big 12 as far as West Virginia, and the conferences are good. The teams probably in that Bahamas thing weren't as good as people thought they were. And I still think people get caught up on, okay, that tournament run wasn't that great. And look at the SEC teams that you lost to, Tennessee, Ole Miss, and Kentucky. I just think it's crazy to think this, but I think this team and Pat Kelsey like being under the radar a little bit. I don't think they mind it. I think they play a little better with a chip on their shoulder. The first time they got ranked, and then they went down to Georgia Tech. They didn't have a midweek game that week. They went down to Georgia Tech and they lost a game. So the first time that they had some attention, put on them. Now they're back in the rankings now, and they've played well the last couple of weeks. But again, I do think it's just that the mix of the ACC, and then when you really look at their early season schedule, that Bahamas trip that we thought was going to be good, I think some people look at it and think, okay, maybe the win over Indiana wasn't as good, even though it was a 30-point. I mean, I did that game on the radio, and I was doing the play-by-play and Bob Vavano was with me on the color. We just kept looking at each other like, what is going on here? It was a 10-point lead, then it was a 15-point lead, then it was a 20-point lead, then it was a 32-point lead, and we're like, okay, what's going on here? And that's when I really kind of myself thought, okay, this team's a lot better than we thought they were. I didn't know how good Indiana was at the time, but I knew Louisville was better than we thought they were. And I still think Louisville is better than people think they are right now.
I think one of the most impressive things for me right now is you're winning the games you're supposed to win in conference, and you're winning them by double digits. So that's a great accomplishment. I want to talk about one of your players there, Chucky Hepburn, who has the best hair in college basketball right now.
He does. Yeah, he does.
But he can dish, he can drive, he can score. He reminds me of some of those great guards that Louisville had in the past. Tell me a little bit about Chucky and about his game, how important he is for that team.
Yeah, sorry. Outside my window here, somebody's probably like stealing a car or something. I'm sorry.
I can see the red light.
I don't know what's going on. I'm out by the window, and I'm like, I can't tell what's going on. So it might be going on for a while. But it's Chucky. It's Chucky with another steal outside of the Yum Center tonight. But no, I mean, I think when you look at Chucky is really, really talented. Like, he is a guy that's he's a guy that, when they got him, they knew exactly kind of what they were getting, or at least I think they thought they knew what they were getting as far as just an all-out dog, just a guy who is super, super competitive and talented. And really, when they got him, I'll never forget one of the first couple practices, and Pat Kelsey was like, hey, he's a lot better than we thought he was. He's a ton better than we thought he was. And he's more of a dog than we kind of thought he was. And he really is. He is a guy that is, I'm trying to move away from the window so I can get around on the other side of the Yum Center here. I'm actually here for a women's game while we're taping this, and I'm not sure what's going on outside, but I'm going to make my way to the other part of the room here on the other side. So
I'm sure local TV has their live vans all set up, ready to go for that.
Yeah. So anyway, I just think I don't know what it is about Chucky. Like, it's a totally different ask than what he was asked to do last year for the 3 years at Wisconsin. He was really good at Wisconsin, but he's taken his game to another level. People love the hair. People love the charisma. He is like the fan favorite here. He and Rain Smith go back and forth, because Rain Smith, the way they're shooting the threes and just kind of the swagger he's got, but those two guys are really like fan favorites. And Chucky is just a dude that he just gets it. He just gets it done. And I've been so impressed. Virginia Tech game.
Yeah.
Louisville won.
Yeah.
It was closer than they thought. It was a 2-point game late in the game. Chucky Hepburn had his worst game of the year. He had 15 points. But he was I think he was 6 of 16 or 6 of 14 shooting. He had 6 assists, but he had 6 turnovers. Yet, if you look at the plus minus stat on the games on the game box, they were plus 13 when Chucky was in the game. He just does that. He just brings that to that team.
And those are exactly the type of players, especially at the guard position, you need to be successful, have a successful run in the ACC and the NCAA tournament, wouldn't you say?
Yes. Oh, I definitely think so. He's experienced,
Yes.
smart. He's a veteran. He's really got, you know, I worried a little bit early in the year, especially when Corin Johnson went down. He was kind of the guy that was going to give Chucky a blow in the backcourt. He's out for the whole season with a shoulder injury after the Bahamas trip. I really felt like, oh no, Chucky's going to get worn down. The minutes are going to get to him. But you know what? It hasn't, and he just gets stronger as the year goes on. And I just think you have to credit that to Chucky and what his ability to get a steal no matter what position he's in or where he's at on the floor is unbelievable. I mean, he will bait guys, and then he swipes it and he's gone. And it's like, wow, it's crazy. And I'll say this. So James Scott is a guy that they brought to Charleston with them,
Mm-hmm.
and from Charleston with them, the coaching staff. James Scott is like the third leading dunker in the nation this year, and it's unbelievable. It's like he and Chucky have played together for 20 years. They know each other so well, and I think that's really helped Chucky Hepburn become real comfortable with his game on the offensive end, as he knows he can just throw it to the rim and James Scott's going to go get it. I mean, they've got a little head nod, and they'll fake it, and then they'll do it again. And I mean, he just throws it up there, and it's a dunk every time. I mean, I think he's at 60 dunks right now, which is fourth all time in Louisville history for a single season. And Montrezl Harrell has the number 1 and number 2, and I think Darrell Griffith has number 3. So that's a pretty good stat,
Yeah.
pretty good thing to be on. And again, James would tell you it's not really him; it's Chucky doing it all. And then Chucky's just he's if there's 5 better point guards in the country, I can't believe there are that many. I mean, I was shocked he wasn't on the Cousy award in the midseason the watch list. I just think he's one of the top elite point guards in the country.
It is a requirement, though, that you have to be a really good dunker to play for Louisville with their reputation in the last 50 years.
It is now. It had gone away for a couple years, but we're back. It's kind of like the fans. I put this backdrop in when I do things just to remind everybody that this place is wild here, and it's crazy when it's hopping. It hasn't been hopping much lately, but it is this year.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the fans this year and how they're reacting to this turnaround.
It's crazy. Even before, so they had a Louisville Live event, kind of like a Midnight Madness kind of thing when practice started, although practice never really ends anymore. So it's kind of like when you started. But in October, they had this little Midnight Madness thing. And I don't think Pat Kelsey, he knew. He's originally from Cincinnati. He gets the Louisville program. He gets the fans. He gets all that kind of stuff. But I don't think until you're really in it, you're like, wow. And it was like 7,000 for this Louisville Live thing on a Friday night in the fall. And he was like, wow, I'm impressed. And then, a scrimmage is more. And then it just keeps getting more and more and more. And now it's a consistent 16, 17,000. I think the last 3 games, I would imagine they're going to get to 20,000. I don't know that anybody is ever going to get back to selling out every single game. Like it's just a different day and age now. And before COVID was, and now with everything else, and you can watch it on TV. So I don't know that you'll ever get to where Louisville will sell out every single night, but these fans are crazy. These fans are wild, and these games are a blast again. Even the Miami game was a closer game maybe than I think the spread. I think Louisville just barely under the spread or whatever it was. But even that game, when Louisville had it in hand, like the fans were going crazy. And like I said, they love some people.
You closed the season with 3 games at home. Pitt, Cal, and Stanford, and I'm still getting used to Cal and Stanford being the ACC.
I can't. I know. I can't either. I can't. I know. We went to Stanford for football, and I'm like, why are we here for a conference? Oh, we
Palo
are.
Alto. Exactly. So you closed with 3 games at home. That's great. Then you go to the ACC tournament in Charlotte. Is there any kind of talk, kind of low-level talk, or in the Casey Yum Center or at the facility, maybe a rematch with Duke, and maybe upping the profile a little bit if they can prevail?
Yeah, and if you really look back at that Duke game, Louisville played them pretty tough for 25 minutes or so, and it was actually not a bad game. I think Louisville does want that. I think Louisville played maybe. I think their best game of the year probably was Wake Forest. Like the overall, like they for a few minutes. SMU is probably the most complete game. Clemson is way up there as far as a game that they played really well. But I do think that like when you really look at what they would love to play Duke, they really would, but it could work out to Georgia Tech beat them, and Virginia Tech has played them the closest anybody has. And it could end up being where Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech, Louisville will get the winner of that game in the first round. So I think they're looking forward to that. I do think they would love a rematch with Georgia Tech. I think that's the one thing because that game it just got away from them, and they should have won that game.
All right, so I got to ask you: is the Dunking Cardinal logo one of the best logos in college sports?
It is, but have you seen the golfing Cardinal logo? Because it's fantastic.
No, I haven't.
It's fantastic. They actually have it for sale now, and it just went online. Yes, the Dunking Cardinal logo is unbelievable. But the University of Louisville they had so much demand for the golf logo, where the Cardinal Bird's got a golf club in his hand, and he's swinging a golf club. It's fantastic too. Both of them are really, really cool. If you look up Dunking Cardinal Bird they actually sell it online now. They just opened like an online store, I believe, and the UofL Golf Club has it here. But yeah, the Cardinal Bird logo is awesome in the different ways that they can use it. They do it they have it in a Heisman now. The Heisman doing the Heisman pose or whatever. I like the Dunking Cardinal logo and the golf one the best. Those are my two favorites.
And a former colleague of mine, James Bates, noticed the primary logo. The Cardinal has teeth.
Yes, that is true. And the Cardinal has changed a little bit now. This is a funny inside thing. Is like he's graduated now, but during the kind of the lean years of Louisville basketball, the last 4 years, there was a Cardinal Bird, a student who was doing the Cardinal Bird, who was like 7 foot tall, and we joked around because, we can laugh about this now, but the first year that Kenny Payne took over, they had a Louisville Live event at Slugger Field, which is where the AAA team plays here in Louisville, and this place was packed. It was nuts. There were 7,000 people. People were going crazy. All these former players and all this kind of stuff. Well, it was the greatest thing ever. It was like, okay, we're starting a new era, and then they have the dunk contest, and nobody could dunk. It was a sign that this team's only going to win 4 games this year because it was the worst dunk contest ever. And the Cardinal Bird actually later that night, was this big 6'7" guy, and he goes up and dunks one in the costume, and we're like, that's the best dunk of the night. So yeah, the Cardinal Bird is a fantastic mascot, and they really get after it. They love that.
Jody Demling, where can we see your work with Cardinal Authority?
It's at cardinalauthority.com. It's part of the 24/7 network, and we do a lot of things. I actually still do a lot of recruiting stuff and all that, but a lot of team coverage. And like I said, it's exciting to be back for Louisville, and I'm biased, and I know I'm biased, but I think college basketball needs a program like Louisville to be relevant, to do what college basketball does and captivate our lives in the winter and then in March, because I think Louisville is very good for college basketball.
Well, you and I are a couple of passionate college basketball fans, and life's good when Louisville's back on top. Jody Demling from the publisher of Cardinal Authority and from the UofL Network on Learfield. Thank you for joining us here on College Hoops Under the Radar. We hope to have you back probably in March. So that's we're going to move on now. Jon Nelson has Steve Quis from the University of California, San Diego, a team Louisville probably doesn't want to see in the first round. We'll talk a little Triton basketball when we come back.
The online sports guys would love to hear from you. Check out our X page, formerly known as Twitter for a Rant. Comment or whatever's on your mind about college basketball. Now back to College Hoops Under the Radar. Here's your host, Jon Nelson.
Welcome back to Under the Radar, and it's time to go out west, and it's time to catch up with you. See him on ESPN Plus, the play-by-play voice for UC San Diego, Steve Quis. Steve, thanks for dropping by and for the education. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for giving some love out here to the gritty little UC San Diego Tritons. It's been quite a fun team to watch this year.
Well, as a child of Lakewood, California, and Lakewood General Hospital, for me, it's easy to gravitate toward that particular direction. Coming into this year, as you and I are talking, 14-2 in conference, 24-4 overall. Expectations coming into this season for UC San Diego were what?
I think exactly where they are right now. Maybe not 24-4, but another 20-win season. I mean, they won 21 games last year, and they finished 15-5, and a couple of games behind Irvine. And I think they thought, man, with the pieces that we have, we'll be able to close the gap. And they certainly have. I don't think the expectation was that they were going to beat everybody by close to 18 points a night. But that is exactly what they have been doing. Eric Olin's a great head coach. I'm not sure whether or not UCSD will be able to keep him. He's no longer the diamond in the rough. People are gonna find him. But he came out smiling after the Hawaii game. It was just him and I. We locked eyes. He just laughed. He's like, I mean, this is incredible. This is what I told you. If we play well, and now we got all our guys in Simpatico, we're going to play well. And that's exactly what they have done this year. And again, the expectation was to get to the NCAA tournament and win the regular season, and they're just this close to getting it done.
4 players in double figures, and without a doubt, one of the all-name guys, starting 5.
Yeah.
Go ahead and let us hear it, because I've heard it about 19 different ways and the kind of numbers that he's putting up this year.
Yeah, so Aniwa Tate Jones is a transfer from Hawaii Hilo. This is his second year in the program. He was 3-time All-Pac West at Division II. They have 6 Division II transfers on this team that are all doing extremely well or are going to do extremely well. One's down with an injury, and that's Milos Vicentic. He played in the first game against San Diego State, and every time I talk to Eric Olin, he's like, that guy would be our second or third leading scorer. He's that good, so he'll come back next year after a redshirt year. But Tate Jones is amazing. I mean, the guy gets downhill. Joe Pasternak, who's the head coach at Santa Barbara, was doing an ESPNU game, and the Tritons beat Santa Barbara twice, and he was like, number 12 is a pro. He wears number 12. He drives. He's actually the team leader in assists, so he's going to close in on 100 assists. He's probably going to have 50 steals by the end of the year, averages 5 rebounds, scores about 20 a game. Doesn't have the greatest three-point shot, but, hit 1 a game. And is just a great shooter and gets to the line. He leads the nation in getting to the line. He'll probably be there 300 times by the end of the year, and he leads the nation in made free throws. Although his free throw average is ticking down. It was about 81 a couple of weeks ago. It's down to about 77, but he'll get to the line 10 to 15 times a game. And, if you guard Ty Magai, which you have to, a lot of teams started to face guard him, that leaves Tate Jones open. And if you go guard Tate Jones and his downhill drives, it leaves Ty Magai, one of the terrific three-point shooters in the country, open. So they've got a lot of weapons, and they've stayed healthy. They had they started the same 5 all last year and won 21 games. It's 3 different guys, but this year they had started the same 5 up until about a week ago. And then Norton K pitch, a transfer, went down for a game. He was out of the starting lineup for 2 games, but now he's back. And, it's amazing what you can do when you stay healthy. You know what I mean? And you got guys all clicking.
Steve Quis on the education for UC San Diego here, going under the radar at OSG Sports. There was a point in the season where UCSD loses 2 of 3, and they were both conference games. Now they've ripped off 9 in a row.
Yeah.
What's been the difference since that losing of the 2 of the 3 to Irvine and Riverside to this streak that they're on right now?
Sure. So the guy that would just pop and kill people with the 3 was Ty Magai. And the first time that they played UC Irvine did a great job with Miles Che, bigger point guard, like 6'3" point guard that came from Chattanooga. He was face guarding him, and they did a box and 1, and Ty Magai couldn't get I think he got 3 shots off the entire game. And, as Eric Olin says, copycat league, right? So after that, it was on film, and everybody saw it. And then Riverside's a pretty darn good team too. And they started to do it. And finally, I think the Tritons were getting the reps of figuring out, okay, if they face guard against Ty, then our other guys have got to make plays. And they kind of designed an offense now where they expect Ty to be face guarded, and that allows, Hayden Gray to step up scoring the point guard, or an Iwaniwa Tate Jones. So that's kind of it. Now they've had enough reps, they figured it out, and other guys are stepping up and I mean stepping up big time. I've never seen a team play like this, and I've covered a national championship team. I mean, it's remarkable. Guys off the bench. There was a kid the other day, Cade Pendleton, hadn't played all year, came off the bench and made 4 3-pointers at Bakersfield in for the starter K-pitch, and then he hasn't been in the rotation since. So it's, he's kind of the 9th guy. So it's remarkable how good they have been this year, whether it's bench players or starters.
4 games left in the regular season at Northridge, and then you've got Fullerton, Long Beach, and you wrap up at UC Davis. This could be a team that going into the conference tournament could have 28 wins on the board. That is a staggering number as you're pushing 30 to come in and hopefully get into the dance.
Yes, I heard somebody talking within the team and the organization, within the university about if they can get it done against CSUN on the road, that they'll probably be a lock for an at-large. I don't know. There's still a ways to go, and it is a mid-major, but that would be a big win. And CSUN came into Lion Tree Arena and got beat by double figures. I think it might have been 22 or 23. They haven't lost since. So they've won 7 in a row. So this is going to be a big battle. And then the Tritons, if they get a 1 or 2, will get the double bye in the Big West tournament, not have to play until Friday, and then hopefully again Saturday. So they could have a 30-win team, but I'm telling you, I mean, their turnover margin is tops in the nation at plus 7.21. They had a play this year. I was doing the game on ESPNU, and they were at Irvine on the road, and they had a play where there was a long rebound to Maximo Milovic, who's the 8th guy off the bench, and he threw it down court to Aiden Burke, who's the 7th guy off the bench, or the second guy off the bench, right? So 7th guy in the rotation. And then a bounce pass to Justin Rosslin, who's the 6th man, and they slammed it against Irvine. And then right there, I was like, whoa, I've never seen a team play like this, that 3 bench guys on the road come in, and I think they beat Irvine by 18, if not more in that game. So it is a really, really good high IQ team that they know what they're doing. And a lot of times I think Eric Olin just stands back and is like, here we go. Just let them play.
Last question for you, and thanks for hanging out for the education. Yeah. For someone who has not seen conference basketball like you have there in the Big West, what are folks missing out on by not staying up late, having a Mountain Dew or, some caffeine to the Big West? What are folks missing out on?
Solid teams that are very well coached. I mean, I'm an Arizona alum. I love Arizona basketball. I've done some of their package for ESPN Plus. I would trust the Wildcats with any one of those coaches from the Big West, and they make guys play just solid basketball. You're not going to see a lot of mess. You're not going to see a lot of high flying action. You're just going to see really good basketball. Is that boring to the late night viewer? I don't know, but you're going to see really good basketball because you have. I mean, the crazy thing in the whole thing is you would think Irvine and UCSD are locks to get to the championship, but I could see CSUN, Santa Barbara's playing well, Riverside's playing well. I could see any one of those teams playing well-coached teams winning this tournament. I really couldn't, getting the automatic bye.
Really looking forward to seeing how things continue to grow there in the Big West. The man who has been sitting courtside, catching up on UC San Diego, Steve Quis. Steve, it's always great to catch up with you, my friend. Continued calls.
Thank you.
May all the equipment work, the headset and everything through the truck, and may all the signals be yours. Have a great call the rest of the season. Be good. Thanks for dropping by the show.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
When we come back, we're going to go through roundtable, look at all the other conferences, and hoops on a budget. Under the Radar, OSG Sports. More after this.
The online sports guys would love to hear from you. Check out our X page, formerly known as Twitter for a Rant. Comment or whatever is on your mind about college basketball. Now back to college hoops under the radar. Here's your host, John Wilkerson.
Welcome back. We got some feedback on our TikTok account about John Fox's glowing microphone.
As we should.
And they're wondering, is it nuclear?
In the past, I've been told that some things I've said has been nuclear, but the headset itself, no.
Okay. All right. I see you're emblazing with your Syracuse sweatshirt on.
Can't take the man anywhere, especially on hoops on a budget.
Exactly. We'll get to that here in a minute. But, John, you talked to Steve Quis with UC San Diego. That is a team that no top 4 seed wants to see on their bracket. when they start the tournament run.
No, and that's the fun part of being able to help folks out, because we are givers here. Yeah, give, never take. It's all about giving, and what we want to do is we want to give that education for folks as they prepare their pieces of paper, just to have for entertainment purposes only. As always, no wagering, and when you get to look at these 13s, I mean, they were UCSD, I think, was 37 in one of the power rankings that came out this week. So that would put them as 10A, maybe, if you want to look at it that way, 10A, 10B, somewhere in there. So would they be a 10 seed going up against the 7? I think that's the interesting part of all of this. And when you have folks on the all name team like they do at UCSD, it's always fun to sit there and piece it together. Nothing like D2 transfers, by the way, to help things out.
Yeah, well, Drake's finding that out too, with Northwest Missouri State coming over, and they're on top of the Missouri Valley. But going back to UC San Diego, I mean, impressive road win against Utah State. What I'm impressed with they're doing right now, and they have to do this, is they're winning in double digits. I mean, they're impressive wins over their conference opponents. And if the committee's got to pick between them and UC Irvine, if it's going to be a one bid league, obviously the conference winner, the conference champion, gets an automatic bid.
Yeah.
But you almost say the pendulum is going to swing more toward UC San Diego over Irvine because of the way they've played in the last month of the season, passing the eye test.
Yeah, and you end up also with these last 4 games of the regular season coming up for UC San Diego, and Irvine might have to do something in the tournament. And Steve made the point that any one of 3 teams right there at the top in the conference could make that dash, win that tournament, and get that bid. And if it's not UC San Diego, then it creates an issue going forward for the other teams that are a part of this discussion. Is it Irvine? Is it Northridge? And let's just say, for the sake of argument, right now as we're talking, Northridge would be the 3 seed right now, 20-7. So they're a 20-win team, and you want to try to avoid playing as many games in the tournament as possible. You want to get the 1, you want to get the double bye, and you end up with, say, Northridge making noise. So they would be 25, 26-7, somewhere in there. They win the tournament. San Diego right now, if they run the table regular season, 28-4. And if they don't win for some reason, they get bumped out early, 28-5, and they're a top 40 in the power rankings. Do you blow them out? That's the big question when you're looking at the Big West for me.
Well, I certainly hope they would make it as an at-large. There are a few teams are in the same boat that you're talking about. Drake, another one with 3 losses, but in the upper 50s in the net and the Ken Palm. God forbid they should lose the conference tournament. I would hope they'd be an at-large, but you never know.
Well, the Arch Madness tournament, which actually starts a week before all the other conference tournaments starts, they have to win that. It's basically come down to that for Missouri Valley now. They're a one-bid league now, and Drake has to win that, I think, to get in. But that's not a certainty.
They not like us.
Now, I said this in my interview with Louisville. I'm really puzzled why a legacy program like Louisville that had 4 really awful years, that has just turned it around drastically this year, is just not getting much attention at all nationally or even regionally, within the ACC. And I got to think that is a symptom of the down year of in the ACC, and Duke just being so dominant. They played Duke in early December and lost, and they played well, but obviously Duke is Duke. And they're hoping for that rematch.
Reruns of Leave It to Beaver. Yes, exactly.
They're wanting that rematch in the tournament. It just puzzles me why they're just not getting that kind of attention, which I think they like.
It would seem that uh, as you say, the four letter seems to be getting a lot better ratings and discussion talking about the SEC. We've talked about for the past few weeks how the ACC just isn't particularly interesting. Maybe as good as well as Louisville has played, as good of a story it is taking a back seat because other leagues are dominating the headlines.
I mean, 11 teams in the ACC are 500 or worse in their overall records. So that means, if my math is correct, I believe that leaves only 7 teams with over 500 records in conference. I mean, just in the overall, not just like conference records, but overall records. So if I had the choice, I mean, if I was a program director at a network that had an option of promoting a game in a conference where 7 of the 18 teams are above 500 in their win-loss, or to the SEC where you look at the sheer number of ranked teams, 3, 6, 8, and let's see, how many teams are 500 or below? 1. You tell me what direction you're programming.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a no-brainer. I agree. But again, they're a legacy program, and the attention, just not getting that kind of attention, just kind of puzzles me. And I think it puzzles Louisville a little bit. But again, the fortunes of the ACC just haven't been good. Speaking of ACC, a former ACC team now in the Big Ten, Maryland, they've lost 3 games in a row by buzzer beaters, and the one by Michigan State on last night, on Wednesday night, it just takes the cake. And it kind of signifies a team like Maryland that maybe is starting to go back a little bit, because obviously we're in late February, early March, and Maryland's going to be in the tournament. But what kind of team are they going to be? I mean, they peaked with Michigan State. Hey, Tom Izzo is a master at getting his teams ready for March. And if you watch the Michigan game on Friday, and now the Maryland game, that team is primed for a run in the NCAA tournament.
So watching the Big Ten all year, there have been a lot of teams that have gone through, because of the travel that's involved, playing coast to coast, playing 3 games in 7 days against top teams. A lot of teams have just run into problems along the way. Maryland is a really good team. Their top 5 or their starting 5 is as good as anybody's. Outside of maybe 5 teams at the top of the country, they have no depth, but they, if they're not in foul trouble, they can hang with anyone. And Michigan State seems to be on a magical mystery tour right now. They're wearing teams out, killing them at the end of games, just with their depth and their defense and know-how. And Tom Izzo was stubborn in not going to the transfer portal, keeping continuity, and it's paying off. He's not going to be able to do that every year, obviously, but he geared up for this year, and they're going to be a tough out for a variety of reasons. But he knows all the tricks in the book, much like Pitino we talked about last week, and where they wind up in the draw will be fascinating from a matchup standpoint.
I'm hoping that the lesson learned last time out for Maryland in a case like this: don't shoot the early 3. Sit on it. Go, drive when there's, time is running out on the shot clock or something. Don't pull the trigger on the early 3, because then you could have what happened to you happen to you. Don't do it. Just say no. Look at the clock. Don't pull the trigger on the early 3. Can we stick in the Big Ten for something random for a second?
Yeah.
Did you see? And it has nothing to do with men's hoops. Did you see where Northwestern's women's basketball team has been issued forfeits for games against UCLA and USC because they did not travel to Los Angeles during the wildfires. The Big Ten, the B1G, announced that they were counting both games as forfeits for the Wildcats. Per conference rules, forfeitures will be assessed to Northwestern. As a result, the Wildcats will receive 2 losses in the conference standings, UCLA and USC each credited with a win. Northwestern's previous statement, according to on3.com, announcing its plan to stay at home, did not include much in the way of an explanation other than citing the wildfires that were ongoing at the time. Then you have the statement. Following the ruling on Wednesday, Northwestern AD delivered a statement noting that he stands by the decision not to travel, though his program accepts the consequences handed down by the B1G. So, and this could also impact Northwestern when it comes to the B1G women's tournament, because they could be on the outside looking in now with those 2 forfeit losses. So it was just, I found it to be very, very intriguing that there were wildfires. UCLA is number 2. Southern Cal is number 4. Northwestern decides that they're not going to go, and they end up with 2 forfeits on the day, on the week. So Northwestern now drops to 9-17 and 2-15, and they may not be a part of the B1G women's tournament as a part of that. So there you go. That's your food for thought from the B1G for the day.
Unlikely they're going to win those games anyway.
Yeah.
True.
They
Yeah.
probably did the right thing in protecting the players from smoke inhalation.
Yeah.
And being annihilated by Southern Cal and UCLA, both top-notch programs in women's basketball.
Yep.
All right, so all the forecasting is coming out as far as who's going to make the tournament. There's a number of them out there, but they all seem to be pretty consistent about who the field is going to be made of, and even who are going to be the first 4 teams in Dayton on Tuesday and Wednesday night. And I want to stick with the power leagues because one of the forecasts, and these are all B11 seeds, is Nebraska and Oklahoma, which I never thought I would. One of my favorite rivalries, in fact, that was an appointment television rivalry in my household during football season. But Nebraska in the Big Ten, Oklahoma in the SEC, never thought I'd live to see that. But renewing the basketball rivalry in Dayton, Ohio. And Nebraska, when you look at them, they're 5 quad 1 wins, some solid play in the Big Ten, just some really untimely losses. And Oklahoma, I mean, Wednesday night against Kentucky, some fan threw something at a Kentucky player, and after that loss, and but Oklahoma is kind of walking the tightrope there, getting in, and still a pretty decent resume. The other one would be Wake Forest, the ACC, and they're hanging on against Arkansas in the other Dayton game, which, again, you look at Arkansas's resume, and they've got 2 blockbuster wins when you really need to have them in late February. And they're just hanging on if they can win out, because they've got 1 more quad 1 against Mississippi State and win a few games in the SEC tournament. I mean, again, I've been kind of, and you know my loyalties.
He's been waxing poetic.
I've been kind of nervous about, and kind of figured, okay, they're going to play for NIT, but they just seem to be hanging on no matter what happens. And I think Jon Nelson's right. They want to have Calipari in that tournament, and they want to put him in Dayton.
I'm going to steal Jon Nelson's line here, but you're going to watch Suzanne Summers matchups in Dayton. And both of those that you just described would fit that bill.
You don't want Priscilla Barnes matchups in Dayton, Sly?
I certainly would not want Priscilla Barnes matchups, no. I don't know what the Dayton equivalent of the Regal Beagle is, but I would certainly think.
Well, the Priscilla Barnes matchups would be Southern versus American. And Marist against Southeast Missouri State.
Ooh.
Okay, so yeah, literally. Yeah, so You sit there and it's like, all right,
we need to build that graphic.
it's the Ropers or it's Ralph Furley. Take your pick. This is where you're going, man. This is what you're hunting for. This is literally Three's Company or Three's a Crowd. Do you want Ralph Furley and the Ropers, or do you want Robert Mandan trying to be the completely and totally overbearing, possible, probable, soon-to-be father-in-law for John Ritter and Mary Catterett? That's what you're looking at here. It ain't no contest. To speak English very goodly, it ain't going that way.
So I think if we were building a graphic, we would put the Arkansas, Wake Forest, Nebraska, Oklahoma in with the Ropers, and the Don Knotts character would be American and Southern.
Ralph Furley. Well,
Ralph Furley, they're Southeast Missouri State.
Suzanne Summers, Priscilla Barnes. It'd be like Chrissy Snow and
I like the Ropers and Ralph Furley better.
But legitimately though, Nebraska at 17-11, 7-10 in conference. That's worthy of a Suzanne Summers matchup in Dayton at Dayton Arena. That's a Suzanne Summers team for you, for the folks that want those to go in.
Only if they play Oklahoma.
Look, and then if what you do in your open, here's your open. What you do is you find football, you find old black and white, maybe early color, grainy stuff with Bud Wilkinson and Tom Osborne. You got them run. Literally, if Nebraska, if Nebraska and Oklahoma ran the triple option in the football open, that's how you program this thing. That's how you start.
You want Tom Osborne and Barry Switzer. You don't want Bud Wilkinson. That'd be Bob Devaney and Bud Wilkinson. And
fine, Bob.
That would be as vanilla can get.
That'd be like the
vanilla Tom Osborne.
Yeah.
You got vanilla Tom Osborne and the bootleggers boy, Barry Switzer. I mean that's my era. That's
Tom Osborne had more personality when he was an elected official than he did when he was given post-game press conferences as a head coach.
Oh yes, I know all about that. But I still got Three's a Crowd on my mind. I haven't thought about that show in like 40 years.
I've disrupted the show's flow. What a surprise.
You've killed me. Which means I think it's time for college basketball on a budget.
Mm-hmm.
So what are your budgetary items today?
My budgetary items, once again, we always refer to Saturday activity. And so that way it is, and our parameters are this. For those of you that watch and listen to the college football show, we want you to widen your horizons. So traditionally what we did during football season is we set $9 as a bar. Would you go to a game for college football for $9 or less? And so what we're doing is probably a little less for basketball, considering the seat versus individual ratio is a little harder. And we're really going to try and press the numbers here. So 1 o'clock Saturday afternoon, from Truist Arena in Highland Heights, Kentucky, the Norse of Northern Kentucky hosting Youngstown State. Get in price, $6. Wow, that's a lot of dead air. Okay, Columbia, South Carolina, 1 o'clock. Arkansas at South Carolina, and I already know Wilkie's answer without even getting a thumb on that.
Yeah, no doubt.
$4 to get in to the arena in Columbia.
Yeah, I got umpired 3 games on Saturday, so
and that way you can afford to actually get in to see a $4 basketball game. 2 o'clock, Reynolds Center, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Tulane at Tulsa. Get in price, $6.
Pass.
Wow.
Paul Pressey, where are you?
A hard crowd.
Oh, Paul Pressey reference. I love it.
Yeah.
All right. So 3 o'clock, North Carolina State at Georgia Tech, McCamish Pavilion, Atlanta, Georgia. Get in price, $7.
I'd go.
For an average team in the ACC for a vanilla team in a vanilla conference, he'd go.
I'd go. I know people over there. I wouldn't pay
that's
$7.
A double scoop of vanilla for Wilkie on a Saturday afternoon.
Hey, I would go if I could get in the door free with you guys.
Yeah, I mean, we know people over there, John. Come on.
I know. Commerce, Texas, 3:15 Eastern time. Incarnate Word at East Texas A&M. Get in price at the Field House. And that's the name of the arena, $5.
No, too expensive. Too expensive.
Winthrop Coliseum, Rock Hill, South Carolina, 4 o'clock. North Carolina, Asheville at Winthrop. Sorry, Winthrop, $5.
I like
if it was
one.
Winthrop, I'd see him. But if it's Winthrop, forget about it.
All right. Now, B1G action at 4 o'clock from the Matthew Knight Arena in Eugene, Oregon. USC at Oregon. Get in price $9. That's our ceiling.
If I was a Mac court, I'd go see it, but not at the new place.
I'm in on that one.
All right, rapid fire.
That court plays with my eyes.
Yes, rapid fire. Middle Tennessee UTEP, $9 at the Haskins Center.
Nope.
Lemoyne at Stonehill, Merkert Gymnasium, Southeastern Massachusetts, $8.
Yep, because Lemoyne's in Syracuse. I'll do that one.
Houston Christian at Northwestern State, Prather Coliseum, Natchitoches, Louisiana. Get in price $5. Wow, this is a rough crowd today, man.
Yeah, rough crowd.
I'm just not into Southland Conference basketball.
Bernard G. Johnson Coliseum, Huntsville, Texas. Louisiana Tech and Sam Houston. That's Bearcats with a K. Get in price $3.
Is Carl Malone playing for La Tech?
Kim Mulkey, actually.
I'd say yes.
Kim Mulkey, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Washington, D.C. Charles E. Smith Center, LaSalle at GW. Get in price $8.
Yeah, why not?
I'd go see that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Staten Island, New York. Central Connecticut at Central Connecticut at Wagner at the Spiro Sports Center. Get in price $6.
Okay, if I have a mask on, I can go to Staten Island. But if I
And okay, so we have 3 more on the board.
Okay.
7 o'clock. John M. Huntsman Center, Salt Lake City, Utah. Arizona State at the Interlocking U. Get in price. I want my $2.
I'm in. I mean, that's a great place to watch a game.
Yeah. Can't get alcohol there.
Santa Clara at...
Yeah, you can, but you got to know people.
Yeah, really. Santa Clara at Pacific, Alex G. Spana Center, Stockton, California. Get in price, $5.
Who's playing UOP?
It is Santa Clara at Pacific.
I'd go.
I like Herb Sendek. Yep.
Herb Sendek, a former NC State guy.
Yes.
And now, and your late game, the conference that one of the conferences that we've had on focus under the magnifying glass today. It is in Irvine, California, at the Bren Events Center. Pivotal game in the Big West. Long Beach at Cal Irvine. Get in price, $2.
There.
Absolutely.
All over it. Zot, zot, zot.
So are we wearing our Irvine gear?
Damn right we are.
Go Eaters.
Excuse me? So that's Hoops on a Budget. What we always want you to do is expand your horizons and go to places you ain't never been before. And a lot of good Hoops on a Budget this week, especially late. So fly out, land at John Wayne International Airport in Orange County.
Yep.
Go to Irvine, drop $2 on tickets, and go see Irvine and Long Beach. There. That's Hoops on a Budget.
I have something hot off the presses here.
Go for it.
A scoop.
Uh-oh.
Sources familiar with the situation are reporting that this weekend at Newman Arena in Ithaca, New York, for the Penn-Princeton weekend, they're creating something called Big Red Boulevard in one section of the arena where they're going to have alcohol served at the Cornell game. So this is a major development for people going to an Ivy League basketball game.
Okay,
Penn,
so
Cornell, Princeton, and Cornell.
That's this weekend?
Yeah.
What time?
I believe the Friday night game is. I was told it was at 4, but I looked online. It said 7. But all
right.
Saturday generally it's in the afternoons.
Okay, efforting. Hang on.
Right.
It is a 7 o'clock Penn at Cornell at Newman Arena in Ithaca, New York. I would need fingers and toes. Get in price $19.
But Ithaca, New York is the adopted hometown of our podcast, right?
True. It is our secondary imitation hometown.
So we got to make the trip, Jon Nelson. To
19 bucks to get in and alleged alcohol. I mean, where can you go wrong?
Exactly. And an Ivy League team. All right, John Fox, thanks for that nugget. We'll be on the first flight out to, I guess we'd land at Syracuse and head on over. But we appreciate you joining us on our podcast, and we appreciate Steve Quis and Jody Demling for joining us this week to talk a little bit about UC San Diego and Louisville. And looking forward to doing this again next week here on the OSG Sports Podcasting Network. So for John Fox, for Jon Nelson, I'm John Wilkerson. Thank you for joining us this week, and go out and watch some college basketball this weekend.
$2, Cal Irvine. Go watch. Please like and subscribe.